И да, това е музиката ми, която ми представя. Та, днешното видео ще гледаме за TikTok, там как се казва. И днеска този човек, който ще гледаме как го е направил, чудесно наистина, ще видим и също другите им поредици, например като този или кой? Всъщност само той е. Значи този ще е нашето друго видео. А също и не забравяйте да се абонирате. Ако все още не сте и сте нови, направете го до 5 секунди, иначе телефона ми ще се щупи. 3, 2, 1. Благодаря, че сейфнахте моя телефон. Да продължаваме към видеото.
Welcome to a new Draw My Life video. One weekend, after going partying with my friends, I was walking back home on my own. A breeze was blowing and I could hear the noise of the hinges. Most people would find it terrifying, but not me.
Също хора, искали да кажем, през времето няма да говоря или ще говоря. Ще говоря, защото да ви кажа. За да ви казвам неща и да казвам мнението ми. Също мнението ми е за сега много добре и не е зле.
I knew this town very, very well. I have the knife with me. I'm strong and fast. What should I be afraid of?
Човек, сериозно ли така ще го направим? Да се фука на себе си.
I didn't see the person's face. However, I did hear the creak when his head turned to one side, as if he was an owl. I went back. I was in shock, but right away a smile appeared on my face. I know it's weird for someone to have such a reaction after seeing something so unusual, but I am weird in general.
Това е нещо. Между другото, това е наистина добре направено от човека.
I was happy to be alone at home. My mother was working a lot lately, and I was pretty much always on my own. It's dark at night.
Аз не мисля майка му да е така на сама. Да е сам без майка си. Защото не е добре.
Without direction, calm, everything's in peace, while your blurry memories come to your brain. Suddenly, I wake up. I realize my eyes are open. I get comfy in my bed. I blink a couple of times and my eyes get used to the darkness. I sit there for a while, wondering what has woken me up. I'm about to nestle between the soft sheets again, but right before I do, a strange sound calls my attention. It didn't sound very strong, so I assumed it was coming from the street. It was probably cats.
Защото мисля, че съм го гледал, но ще го гледам отново за видеото, ако някой не го е гледал, Между другото, мисля на другия епизод да направим така, че да направя клип за игра. Няма да кажа, защото сигурно ще е до мен майка ми или баща ми, понеже те ни позволят да играя, но ако ви чувате това, то всички останали, ако разбира се знаят за канала ми, ще разберат.
I had no doubt there was somebody in my house. I felt a tingling while my hair stood on end. My heart was beating like a gust of adrenaline through my body. It was frozen like a marble sculpture. I didn't even dare to breathe. I could feel each beat resounding in my body. If I made any noise, whatever was out there in the hallway could hear me. What should I do? Scream, ask for help, attack him, kill him, hide? Determined, I jumped off the bed. I saw the shadow of feet in front of my door. A crack of light invaded my room. However, there was a shade covering most of it. I was breathless, but my heart kept beating. A cold sweat took over me. The hinges were making noises. The door was wide open. I tried to scream. I was paralyzed.
Ако чуете това,
Suddenly,
извинявайте,
Callie and
просто
Trustkin came to my mind.
понякога
It was the same
нашия
person, the
климатик
same figure.
постоянно
A shiver
скърца.
ran down my spine. I only had the strength to say no.
И това
I hit
вече е
some
моя
letters,
климатик.
something was mad. His face was completely hidden by orange
Наистина
glasses,
мразя.
a
Ако
hood
чуете
over his
това,
forehead, and
просто
something
се
covered
увелича
his
малко.
mouth and his chin. He got close, staggering a bit. He was coming slowly and sinisterly towards me. He put his hand on his face.
Наистина мразя.
I went back towards my bed. I was holding the knife so firmly that my knuckles were bleeding. I realized the man had an axe on his hand, a lot more impressive than my little knife. I could see blood dripping from it. The intruder held the axe up. Blood was running down it. I couldn't move, and I let my knife go little by little. It fell noisily on the ground. I stifled a cry, and I heard a sound. Shh, he said again, while he kept walking towards me. I noticed his neck was at an inhuman angle. I heard the noise of his bones, his tendons, the sound of death. I couldn't escape. I couldn't move. I was waiting for it. My heart was beating faster and faster. Everything was getting blurrier. I felt I was gonna pass out. His body was moving weirdly. He took another step closer. His neck looked like it was cracking. That mysterious noise again. That sounded familiar now. Shh, he said once again. He was only a step away from me. He raised his axe. I was gonna die. His axe got closer to me, slowly. I could feel it touching my stomach. In that moment, I felt a hand on my shoulder, lifting me a bit, enough to feel the blade cutting my abdomen. Agony was all around me. My body was rigid, fear, shock. I couldn't see the night stars anymore. My vision turned black and white. My world spun around. The last thing I saw was a pair of shoes with silver point, and a puddle of blood reaching the shoes of the intruder. And then, my world turned black and numb.
Добре. Значи снимката си е бива. Това си е... Бива си всичко. Между другото, ако не сте гледали първото ми клипче беше като си направите един клип на Хелоуин, защото първото ми клипче беше на Хелоуин. Ако някой не се е досетил, да знаем. Между другото, защо така правя постоянно да свети? Защото или ще ми спре клипа, или отново ще трябва да го правя. Между другото, също да се абонирате, ако не съм казал. Казвам го за втори път или за първи път. Абонирайте се, пръснете лайка и също пръснете камбанката. Това беше от днешното му видео на този. Сега почваме към той.
Welcome to a new...
Също да кажа, този още, като още не е разбрал, че никой не е видял клипчето ми с Зиро, там приятеля му. Може да цъкни просто ето там долу Тема Live TikTok. И също ето така се казва най-отгоре, те с бели букви се произнася, ако някой не чете английски. His very reels Draw My Life Creepypasta. Ти е на Хелоуин, мисля.
Draw My Life video. In this occasion, we have the adaptation of a new creepypasta, which also has a very special relation to one of your favorite characters. If you want to know who, you'll have to be brave and wait till the end of this dark story. Let's begin. My real name is Cody, and since the very beginning, I've always been an unwanted kid. I never knew who my father was, and my mother was a criminal, too busy with her scheming to worry about me. She left me for days, sometimes weeks, so I soon got used to being alone. I've never had friends. One day, a social worker arrived and took me away from my irresponsible mother to take me to an orphanage. In the beginning, I didn't really care much. In fact, it was the perfect chance to start from scratch and start socializing with other kids my same age. But I don't know why everything went wrong. Nobody liked me, and they all intimidated me. I would sit in a chair and wouldn't talk to anybody. I was afraid to. I got used to the idea that I
Ja
wasn't
sam te.
normal and that I didn't fit anywhere. Suddenly, one day, they told me to pack because I was gonna be adopted. I was really surprised. Who was gonna adopt a 13-year-old boy? People usually prefer younger and cuter kids. Plus, I was a weirdo. It was obvious. I was even more surprised when they took me to a big and luxurious mansion. More than I had ever seen. I settled in my room, and some days went by until I finally met my new father. He was the chief scientist in a big laboratory that studied the behavior of viruses. Because of his job, he couldn't spend much time at home either, and I started to reawaken old ghosts from the past. In order to avoid this, I started showing interest in his investigations, and I even started helping him in his own lab. He returned the favor by explaining to me how everything worked and the amazing destructive power viruses have. Just as him, I started keeping a work journal where I draw sketches and wrote down formulas. All this took up a lot of my school time, and when I did go, my classmates treated me as a weirdo. When I was 17, I had learned so much about virus that I decided to start carrying out my own experiments. I used rats and other animals, and usually all tests ended with the death of the subject. When they died, they emitted high noises, kind of suffocation, as if their lungs were about to explode. It was an incredible moment.
Наистина.
I wondered what sounds huge.
Не мога да повярвам как човек ще направи отрова и се чуди каква ще направи, ако е към човек.
Would make. But each time I talked about this with somebody, they said I was sick and I should look for help. However, I didn't give up. One day, when I was with my father at work, I was left alone and took advantage of the situation by filling up a syringe with a very lethal virus. That same night, while everybody was sleeping, I put on a black jacket and blue jeans and went down to the basement. I had my baseball bat, and by coincidence, I found a jar with used and rusty nails. I nailed some of them and so created a simple but mortal weapon. In another drawer, I found an old gas mask and some blue welder glasses. Once I had it all, I went out to the darkest neighborhood in town. I chose a house randomly, an old and ramshackle house, and I went inside. It wasn't difficult to end the lives of everybody in there, thanks to my
Наистина,
improved bat.
оф,
But I
трябва да
saved
казвам
the last
наистина.
person, a 50-year-old man.
Човека си
I
го убива.
immobilized him and injected the virus I had stolen. I waited till it had spread all around his body. The man barely complained. He was terrified. After a while, he started groaning out loud, groans that sounded like those of animals, and suddenly he fell on the floor. He was dead, and I couldn't help but smile. I had finally lived that moment. When I went back home, my father was waiting for me, awake. I decided to tell him what I had done, hoping as a scientist he would share my desire for investigating. But instead, he was horrified and wanted to call the police. He looked at me with the same expression of disgust as my classmates. When he grabbed the phone, I took the opportunity to smash his head with my bat. I left running towards the research lab, where I sneaked in thanks to the accreditation I had stolen from my father. I grabbed a bag and started filling it up with syringes and virus samples of all kinds. I had decided to escape, but before doing so, I went around that dirty neighborhood of the town to try out some of my new acquisitions. After that, I needed some refuge, so I went into the woods. After some time walking, I found someone. I tried to sight him in the darkness, and I saw a boy wearing orange glasses and a muzzle covering his mouth. He was wearing a gray hoodie with a dark blue hood, and he had two axes with him. I didn't know if he had seen me, so I hid behind a tree, but when I looked again, he wasn't there anymore. I looked in another direction, and suddenly I saw him face to face, really close to me. "Get out of there. I know you. You have nothing to hide." It didn't seem like he wanted to attack me, so I went, and horrified, I asked who he was. "My name is Toby." I wanted to say my name, Cody, but instead, something different came out of my mouth. X-Virus. Nice to meet you, X-Virus. Now, come with me. He started walking and I followed him without even imagining I had found a great friend. My blood brother.
Добре. Това си е удивително. Също дайте лайк, ако искате още такова видео или видео за игри. Ако не искате, просто натиснете за още едно от тези видео. Та да започваме с третото и да свършваме, защото... О, този филм го знам! Ще го ставя, за да го виждате. Има игра на нея.
You guys, hi! Bethany? We're back in Jumanji!
Също има игра на нея. Може и скоро да има нова част. Втора част.
It all started one night, the night Jeffrey Woods, also known as Jeff the Killer, went completely crazy and killed his parents and his sweet brother Lou Woods. Jeff became a soulless monster whose only desire was to kill. But was Lou really dead after so many cuts and stab wounds? No. Jeff's brother survived this brutal attack. Full of rage, he made it through, eager to live. Then it all turned black and he passed out until the police found him, nearly dead, next to his already dead parents. Lou spent some months in a coma in the hospital after many transplants, surgery, and stitches, and one day he finally woke up. When he opened his eyes, he thought he saw an angel. It was Susan, the nurse in charge of taking care of him. She got really excited when she saw him. She'd been waiting for him to wake up for a long time. Hi, I'm Susan. I hope you get well soon and wish you the best of luck, she whispered in his ear. Days went by and Susan was always there, taking care of him with a smile on her face. Lou couldn't stop admiring her.
Ако му виждате той носа, как е след с неговата веничка, която е получил, раничка, е получено като У, ако го обърнете, само стига екрана ви да не се обърне, и ще се получи думата У на английски, макар че като българската У, дето прилича, макар че не е. Но да започваме.
Admired the fact that though he wasn't able to talk or even move yet, she was always there for him without losing heart. This gave him the strength to keep on. Without a doubt, Lou was falling in love. What he didn't know was that the pretty nurse had fallen for him as well. After some days, the doctor went into his room and explained the surgery he was about to go through was very delicate, but he trusted him as he was a very strong boy. Then they moved him to the surgery room. The surgeon said, "Count to 10. Little by little, you will start falling asleep, and when you wake up, you'll feel better than ever." Lou counted peacefully, but when he reached number 10, he still felt awake. He wanted to move, but he couldn't. It was as if his body had fallen asleep, but not him. Then he felt a cold knife lying on his chest. The knife started to cut and the pain was almost unbearable, and it didn't end. Each cut was more painful than the previous one. He couldn't help but remember Jeff cutting him once and again with his knife, saying, "Shh, don't worry, go to sleep." When he woke up, the first thing Lou saw was his angel, Susan, with beautiful smile on her face. He felt so happy when he saw her that he was able to say, "Hey, Susan, I'm Lou. I hope we can go out together when I'm out of here." She started crying, excited, and accepted without hesitating. Finally, the day came for Lou to recover 100%, and that same night he met Susan. It all went amazing. She was perfect for him. But Lou wasn't over the incident with his brother yet. He felt going back to his old house would help him move on. He was afraid to go on his own, though, so he asked Susan if she'd go with him. Of course, Lou. I'd do anything for you. When they got to the house, they found the door had been locked, probably by the police to avoid people breaking in. Together, they pushed it once, twice, 3 times, and the door opened with difficulty. A strong, musty, and rotten smell reigned in the house. It was all very dark until little by little the eyes of the couple got used to the darkness and were able to see the horror Jeff had caused. The bodies were gone. However, stains of blood were all around. The house had accumulated a fine and dense layer of dust. For Liu, it was like living.
Човека си е изгубил времето, но си го е съзужавал.
The closer they got to his room, the worse the scene was. They then got to his room's entrance, surrounded by a police cordon. Liu cut it in silence and opened the door. His room was the worst of all. There was blood everywhere, and on the wall at the end of the room, they could read the sentence, "Go to sleep." When he read this, he froze. He suddenly fell onto the floor and started screaming. He couldn't forget each and every step from Jeff. Going back to the house had been a bad idea. Lou couldn't stop thinking about his brother. He heard him inside his head. "Shh, go to sleep. Jeff, I'll see you in hell when we're both dead." Lou wanted to kill him, stab him over and over again. A strong thirst for death and revenge invaded his body.
Наистина,
"Lou, hon, are you okay?"
този
asked Susan from the stairs.
е
He
изкукал.
grabbed a knife from the floor and ran to the door, and there was Susan with her angel face. He was so close to doing something stupid. What had happened to him in that room? He calmed down, and they both left the house together. Susan saw him trembling and scared. "I'll take care of you today," she said, with her beautiful smile. On their way home, a thief robbed them and stole Susan's purse, hurting her. A huge rage invaded Lou, and he felt like running after the thief. But it wasn't normal rage, no. It was a kind of rage that urged him to kill with his own hands. He wanted to do it with all his strength. He told Susan to go home. He grabbed the knife and he killed the thief, after stabbing him several times. Lou then realized his thirst for killing was real. He had gone crazy. He thought it wouldn't take long for him to kill again. Nobody would hurt Susan ever again. But he couldn't just go around killing everybody. He wasn't Jeff, so he decided to kill only bad people. Time went by and more people had been killed by Lou. He bought a leather suit so it'd be easier to clean it. He was sick of having blood stains on his clothes. It was a peaceful night, and he went out to a restaurant with Susan to celebrate their anniversary. Lou felt more in love than ever, so he made the most out of the date and asked her to marry him. Obviously, Susan said yes. It all seemed perfect, until on their way out, a damned soul came with a gun and shot her. Susan fell on the floor. The ambulance took too long, and Susan died. Full of rage, he turned against the doctors in it. If they had been faster, maybe his angel could still be alive. He killed them all, but this didn't heal the pain the death of his loved one was causing. So he grabbed a surgical knife and he cut the shape of a smile on his face and then sewed it so nobody would see he was really suffering inside. Then he sewed the date of Susan's death in his chest, next to his heart, so he'd never forget that this cruel world had taken from him the only thing he loved. From that moment on, Lou Woods is called Homicidal Lou, and he wanders around, killing all people who seems to be happy. If he can't be happy, then nobody should be.
О, майка, че има стреса. Макар че има по-крипи начини, като джъмскера на Five Nights на Фреди, наистина е крипи. По-крипи е като е на когато си, нали, оная част с леглото. Наистина е гадна. Няколко Фредита обединени срещу детето. Това е гадост. Че даже имам на корема зъби. Боже. Мисля, че наистина Тая лудост с
Welcome to a
финальски
new
трябва да
Draw
се
My Life
спре.
video. Welcome to a new Scary Tuesdays special about St. Valentine's Day. Today, we're talking about Jeff the Killer's creepypasta again, and we'll share with you a story we've made up about him and his arch-enemy Jane. Hope you like it. The Richardsons were a normal family. They had been in the same neighborhood their whole life. Their house had been passed on from generation to generation. The young Jane Richardson was tired of her quiet life. Always the same story. Nothing exciting ever happened in that town. One day, while she was daydreaming looking out the window, she saw a minivan full of stuff parked at the front of the house opposite the road. Nobody had lived there since old Mr. Johnson died years earlier. New neighbors! She saw a young guy with pale skin and brown hair coming out of the car. He was wearing a t-shirt with black and white stripes. Behind him, she saw another guy, a bit younger. He looked her age. They were pretty cute, actually. Jane, dinner is ready. The next morning, Jane went downstairs for breakfast in her pajamas, and her mother told her the Woods had just moved. They had 2 boys and they would go to her same high school. Her mom always knew what was going on around them. Jane took longer to get ready that day. She brushed her hair carefully, put on her favorite skirt and knee-high socks. She waited at the door for a couple of minutes to see if the 2 brothers were coming as well. But when she checked the time, she realized she was late, so she left running. When she arrived, Jeff was already there, sitting at the end of the class. He looked sad, looking out the window with lost eyes. She wanted to approach him and talk to him, but the bell rang and the class started. At lunchtime, Jeff didn't move from the chair. Jane wanted to introduce herself, but her friends dragged her into the dining hall. Hey, Michael hasn't invited me to the dance. Can you believe it? Has anybody asked you already? Jane wasn't paying attention to Stacy. She was thinking about the new boy. Hello, are you listening? This is important. Yeah, sorry. I'm sure he'll ask you soon. She didn't want to keep talking about the St. Valentine's dance. She still didn't have a partner to go with. She walked down the hallway. At the end of it, she saw Jeff putting something inside his locker, looking sad. When she went back home after the cheerleaders' practice, it was almost night. It was pouring rain and she didn't have an umbrella. She walked with her black boots, trying not to step on the puddles. But then, when she turned around the corner, she found a violent situation. Jeff was laying on the ground and his nose and his lips were bleeding. His clothes were soaked and dirty, with mud and blood. Next to him, Randy, Troy, and Jake were trying to find money on his backpack.
What the fuck is this? He's only got shit in here. We should beat him so he learns to carry valuable things with him. I'm getting wet because of this moron. Let's go home, Randy.
Randy kicked him one last time in the abdomen before they left. Jane ran towards him and helped him get up, holding Jeff's head with her arms. His eyes were closed. It looked like he had fainted. When she looked at his face, Jane thought he was sweet and cleaned the blood from his face. Are you okay? Does it hurt a lot? Jeff half opened his eyes and stared at her. His penetrating look made Jane blush. She felt butterflies inside her tummy and her heart started beating intensely. The sound of the rain was interrupted by Jeff's soft voice.
I'm better than ever.
He finally said, with a smile on his face. She smiled back at him. He sat up, still dazed, with his hands on the stomach where they had
Между
kicked him.
другото,
I'm Jeff. Jeff Woods.
I'm Jane, your neighbor. Nice to meet you. Jeffrey Woods is gonna be mine, she thought.
Thanks for your help, Jane. If you need anything, you can ask me for help.
Then, Jane had an idea. She remembered that stupid St. Valentine's dance. The date was getting closer and she still hadn't found anyone to go with. Going alone would be a disaster, and even though she was embarrassed to ask, she gathered all her courage. You could come with me to the dance, if you don't have a partner already, of course. Jeff accepted, a bit surprised. After this, they became inseparable. Jane loved being with sweet Jeff. When they were not together, she loved to look at
разбира
him
се,
from the
сигурно
window.
слушката
The
с
days went by
огъня.
and the night of the dance arrived. Jeff was very handsome with his black suit and his red bow tie. The color matched his pale skin and made him look very attractive. Jane was nervous. She was wearing a red sequin dress and black high heel shoes. They danced all night as if the rest of the people didn't exist. She was leaning on his shoulder and he was holding her waist, until finally they melted into a magical kiss. Suddenly, Randy and his friends appeared. They took Jeff outside and Jane ran after them. The boys wanted to beat him up. Jeff got furious and a sadistic smile and look appeared on his face. He ended up killing 2 of them. Randy, scared, spread alcohol and bleach around him and set him up on fire. Jane felt helpless with the whole situation. She grabbed her phone and called the police right before she passed out. She woke up at the hospital with her parents and she asked, "What happened? Is Jeff all right? Don't ever talk to that kid again. We forbid you from seeing him again," her mom said. "But Mom, Jeff is special. You don't understand." "Enough, Jane. This is the end of the conversation." Jane, not listening to her parents, escaped and looked for him in every room in the
Съжалявам, но
hospital. She
какво?
found him with a bandage around his head. "What happened to your beautiful face?" But it didn't matter what Jeff looked like now. She would still love him. Once recovered, they went back home. Even though Jane was banned from talking to him, she continued watching him through the window, and she realized he was acting weirder and weirder. It's like it's not him anymore. That terrifying smile never leaves his face. Maybe he forgot about me. One night, Jane woke up to the sound of the door. She went downstairs and found a note in the kitchen that said,
I haven't forgot about you. Nobody will take us apart.
Jane, scared, grabbed a sharp knife. She went to the dining room where she found her parents sitting at the table, dead, and a terrible, disfigured Jeff waiting for her. His hair used to be brown but was now black. His eyelids were burned, his mouth cut, and he
Мали,
had the same sadistic look he had when he fought
наистина
with Randy.
искам такова лице
Jane
да имам,
screamed
за да мога
disconsolate.
по-добре да се
Look who has
страхуват.
finally woken up. Why that face, Jane? They had to go to sleep. Don't worry. I'll make you look as beautiful as me.
What do you do, Jeff? Are you crazy? How could you? I will kill you, whatever it takes. Jeff wasn't sweet Jeff anymore. He had turned into Jeff the Killer. He spread gasoline and bleach around Jane and set the house on fire. When Jane woke up, she was at the hospital again. Her head hurt. A nurse told her her family had been killed during the fire. When she looked at herself in the mirror, she got frightened. Her face was completely burnt. Later,
Мали.
Jane got a package with a mask inside, a bunch of black roses and a sharp knife. There was also a note.
Jane, I'm sorry you don't look as beautiful as me, but now we will be together eternally.
From that day on, she swore she'd take revenge on the treason of killing her family. How dare that damned Jeff take her loved ones from her? Jane's motto is the contrary of Jeff's. Don't go to sleep. To get in the way of Jeff trying to do the same to more innocent victims. However, when the time comes, will Jane be capable of getting rid of the strong feeling she has towards Jeff and perpetrate her revenge? Her best friend, her first love. Will they be together again, or is it just an illusion of a sadist in love? Happy day of love and friendship, TikTokers.
Сериозно, сигурно. Сега сигурно трябвани гледате или нещо такова гнусно. Накрая.
Give us tons of likes if you liked it and want us to make more stories. See you on Thursday with a new video.
И да, разбира се, най-крипи в кавички история на света.
If you enjoyed this video,
Между другото ще да правя поредица на Залго, но не мисля. И както казах, това е края на видеото. Правих компромиси, колко ли не е. Както ли да е хора, аз казвам Goodbye и до нови срещи!